Race 9 was an historic one for the CRL, as for the very first time 40 cars were put into the feature race. 2 qualifying races were held. The top 14 from each were put into the feature race alongside the top 12 in owners' points. Brendan Rohde dominated the first qualifying race, although he left Anker Christensen with hurt feelings after spinning the 5-car out while lapping him on lap 23. The second qualifying race was much more exciting. Alexis Farr led the first 35 laps before being passed by Lane Christensen in lap traffic with 5 laps to go, and Christensen had to hold off Farr to take his first CRL win, although it doesn't count for points. Rohde's good weekend continued as he captured his second career Red Robin Pole Award and his first of the season. We start this race by going down into the pits, looking down at Gordon Mawson of 49. Supposed to start 10th. He won't start at all. His engine lets go as they roll off to take the green flag. Mawson just gotten good news from Team Wiper. He was originally supposed to hand this car over to Zachary Lowe after this race, but they decided to keep him, and that's not a good way, certainly, to celebrate the good news. And all of this led to quite the stack-up while the cars were leaving pit road. You're looking at Alexis Farr in the 76. To the inside of her is Jason Teller Sr. in the 77. To the inside of him is Hamilton Porteau in the 01. They come out of the pits. Teller gets into Farr. The 76 spins. And look at all these cars stopping right at the bottom of the banking. Coming into the picture are Thor Gonzalez in the 66, Brandon Malloy in the 4, and CJ Cameron in the 13, all of whom would stall out and have to be pushed back onto pit road, and they were all on pit road when the green flag came out, thus they were well behind the lead lap. And here are a pack of cars affected by the stack-up trying to catch up to the main pack, led by Antonio Mihailov in the 48 and Mike Lee in the 15. Thankfully, we would get this race started, and it was Carly Brubacher in the 91 seeking her 3rd straight points-paying finish, and she would dive off into turn 1 with a better advantage than Rohde, poking the nose in front as they go onto the back straightaway. However, Rohde will put his nose in front of the 91, but Brubacher will win out, and she will have the lead for herself going into turn 3 and lead the first lap. First caution would come out on lap 3. Jason Teller Sr. trailing behind Fabrizio Dalla Stella in the 13. They go into turn number 1. The 77 gets into the 56. Dalla Stella goes up into the wall, comes back down, gets hit hard by Alex Neshmary in the 37. Neshmary was out on the spot. Mike Falls in the 40 car got collected as well. The Londoner would do 2 more laps and then drop out himself. This was not all the wrecking, however. Dalla Stella's teammates, Salvatore Provenzano and Jay Janner in the 94, go into turn number 1. They go up the racetrack, hard into the wall. Janner turns over. He somehow continues. And Provenzano gets nailed by Rush McLeod. Here's a better look at that. McLeod, new paint scheme and all, coming into turn 1. Nowhere to go. Hits Provenzano. Provenzano and McLeod were out. As you see all these cars, Kurt Shelton, Lane Cranston, Alan Musico among them, taking to the grass to avoid being caught up in the mess. And you see Alexis Farr in the 76. She would pit after the pre-start incident, but she did not lose a lap. We restart at the end of lap 7. There you see the 3 cars affected by the pre-start incident to the inside. Brubacher, though, jumps out in front of them all, and she will blast away from Rohde as they hit the back straightaway. The 91 car with the fastest lap in the race at this point. Brubacher seeking to make history. 2 women have never won in the same CRL season. Tina Lee opened this season by winning at Irwindale. From women to senior citizens, this is Dave Bloomers Jr. taking over the 74 from his son Chuck. Bloomers Jr. started today's race in 4th spot. He's now in 6th. If he can finish in the points, he'll become the oldest point scorer in CRL Modified Division history. He was injured in that frightening first lap accident in the pre-qualifying race at Watkins Glen that was caused by an ill Gibson McAllister. Second caution would come out on lap 12. Mike Lee in 31st spot in the 15 gets tangled up with Jacob Eichholt in the 07. Eichholt spins down into the wall. Lee continues on until he goes into turn 1. Robert Klesel spun out. Lee gets into the back of Klesel, and that would be the end of it for Lee. You saw Alan Musico in there as well. Here's what happened to Lee. He squeezes Taylor Bansma up into the outside wall, spins out. Musico has nowhere to go. He clipped, the defending series champ clipped Klezel and goes spinning. I think Landon Rhodey clipped Musico in turn 1. We restart this race at the end of lap 16. And Brubacher's not going to get off as well as she did before because that 4-car to the inside, Brandon Malloy, is going to make things a little bit difficult for our leader. Obviously, the repairs they did to that 4-car after he stalled out during the pre-start incident have really affected the performance in a good way. And he would actually get ahead of Brubacher and start passing lapped cars. So he would become a nuisance, just about. Turning our attention to the 70 of Lyman Mills. He's going to pass Brendan Rhodey, for second spot. Mills seeking his first ever points in the CRL Modified Division. He is a teammate of 2008 Series champ Rallin Hayden. We talked about Tina Lee earlier. Here she is passing Brendan Rhodey for third on lap 22. Lee started this race in 15th spot. You might have noticed her in the very first clip trying to get around Gordon Moss as the 49 engine was smoking. 2 laps later, here are Lee and Mills fighting it out for third spot. Now for second spot. Now Mills is going to put up quite the fight on Lee here. He'll have the position coming out of turn 4 and at the line, but he will not be able to hold off the 21. They go into turn number 1, and Lee will complete the pass. She's not done. She catches up to Carly Brubacher, and here we are at the start. Here we are now at the start of lap 29. Lee to the inside of Brubacher in turn number 1, and she easily gets by. Brubacher still has the fastest lap of the race, but obviously her car is no longer performing the way she had been used to earlier in the day. Laps 35 and 36. After controversy early on, Jason Teller Sr. is making his way through the field. Here he is passing Mills for third going into turn number 4. You see CJ Long pass Mills for fourth spot, and Teller's not done yet. He's going to get around Carly Brubacher for second going into turn number 1 at the start of lap 36. Well, Brubacher holds him off for the time being, but he will get her going to the back straightaway. Here is Carl Loggins, the man who won round 7 at Watkins Glen in dominant fashion, his very first CRL Modified Division start. Drivers protested his car, saying it was illegal because he was so much faster than everyone else. They spent nearly 8 hours checking it over, and they found it was legal. And here is Loggins in just his second CRL start in 8th after starting 14th, so he's seeking more points. Now here's Tina Lee about to have a little bit of trouble with Brandon Malloy, as you see her trying to catch up to the 4-car as he is catching up to traffic in the very back of the pack. And here's Alexis Farr. After her early troubles, she is going to pass John Hawks in the 45 for 12th spot, but she's not going to be done yet. There's Jen Walker in the 89, and Farr's going to go to the inside of Walker going into turn number 1 and complete the pass for 11. So Farr seeking her first ever CRL Modified Division points after her troubles before the start. 11 laps to go. Jason Teller has caught up to Tina Lee. He peeks to the inside going into turn number 3 as they are catching up to the 94 of Jay Jannerin, who's still somehow in this race after that big wreck he had earlier on. Lee will hold off Teller. 8 laps left. Jannerin becomes sort of a factor. It's a little bit 3 wide going into 3. Teller another peek to the inside, but Lee again is going to hold off Teller as they come out of turn 4. By the way, never before has one woman won twice in the same CRL season, so Lee trying to make history today. 3 laps left. Teller to the inside again. He's still not going to get the pass done. So, we are going to go to the white flag lap. Flag already up. And you see Malloy's caught up to Teller, and there's CJ Long now in third with the top 2 in his eyesight. And Malloy's going to go to the inside of Teller going in onto the back straightaway, and Teller's going to lose Tina Lee, and Tina Lee will make history. She'll come off turn 4 and win the 2010 Delaware Lottery Games Modified Showdown, becoming the first woman ever to win twice in the same CRL season. It's her third career victory, and here's more history. Dave Bloomers Jr., the 66-year-old, finishes 12th, picks up the last point, and becomes the oldest point scorer in CRL Modified Division history. But all the applause is for this young lady, Tina Lee, finally having a good run after quite a large slump there in the middle. Her best finish since she finished second in round 2 at Phoenix. So Lee celebrating her second win of the season. She gets 1 bonus point for leading the most laps for improving from 15th spot to first. The FedEx Fastest Lap Award, $10,000 bonus, goes to Brubacher, a lap of 28.363. She did finish in the points. Here are the top 12 in race results. Lee with a victory. Jason Teller in second spot, although some drivers aren't going to be very happy with him after this race is over. CJ Long finishing in third. Reed Weber finishing in fourth. Carly Brubacher ends up finishing fifth, so that's 3 straight points finishes for her. David Sprague quietly finishes sixth. Sean Percy finishes seventh. Carl Loggins ends up finishing in eighth. Lyman Mills, his first ever points in ninth. Alexis Farr picks up her first ever points with a 10th place finish. Jen Walker 11th. And Dave Bloomers Jr. rounding out the top 12 with a 12th place finish. By the way, Brendan Rohde picked up a bonus point for winning pole. He finished in 15th. The top 15 now in the points. Tina Lee atop the point standings with 62 points. She and John Hawks are tied, but Tina Lee has a pole. They each have 2 wins. Garth Davidson in third, Brandon Malloy in fourth, Fabrizio Dalla Stella now sitting in fifth, Jen Walker in sixth, Jacob Eichholz sitting in 7th spot, Reed Weber in 8th, Kurt Shelton in 9th off the strength of his win at Salem, Salvatore Provenzano, who won at Phoenix earlier this year, is 10th, Landon Rohde in 11th, Mike Lee in 12th, Robert Klesel in 13th, 14th Carly Brubacher, and in 15th is Rush McLeod. Next up we go to USA International Raceway, USA International Speedway, I should say, in Lakeland, Florida, for the inaugural Central Florida Modified Trophy.